Hello everyone, let me welcome you to our third class of Takaful, in which we are going to focus on Takaful and its basic principles. So as you may notice, in the first class, we focused on Maqasid al-Sharia and its relationship with Takaful. We saw how Takaful is critical in Sharia, considering its Maqasid, the objectives of it. Then we moved to discuss risk in the second class. So we checked how risk is basically categorized different ways, etc., and how in risk there are many components that we need to understand. And now we will move the discussion to Takaful itself. So we will start to go deep into Takaful. Of course, as we proceed in the course, you will notice that the specifications and the details will get much and much more. So let's begin. So the class will be basically two parts. In the first part, we will discuss Takaful, its concept, the tabarru' concept, which is the most important aspect of Takaful contract. Then we will discuss Takaful contract in details. So, from a Sharia perspective, what are the pillars of an Islamic contract? We know there are three. So we will discuss these three pillars in relative to Takaful. And in the second part, we will move to permissible Takaful interest and some really important aspect of Takaful. Let's begin in this part and focus on the word Takaful itself. So what does Takaful mean? I'm sure you know Takaful is an Arabic word. It was derived from the verb kafala. So kafala means to guarantee, which basically sheds some light immediately on the takaful itself, what it is. So takafala means committing oneself to avert the loss of somebody. Kafila means whatever protects the back of the rider. So we viewed many basically forms of the same word to see the details. Then the word takaful is derived from the Arabic root kafala. Takaful being a noun is extracted from the verb takafala. The verb in turn is derived from the noun kifl. Okay, let's move to the concept of takaful. So you're telling me the word kafila means to guarantee. So basically, I'm sure there would be some kind of guarantee in this Takaful business. Of course, participants are basically trying to do that for one another to protect each other and themselves, including against some specific risks. So, joint guarantee, a group of individuals or parties agree. So you have 10 people, they're facing the same risk, they're traveling at night, thieves are on the way, so they have the same risk. Remember what we discussed in the risk class. So they mutually, 10 of them realize the importance of protecting one another, including yourself, to mutually guarantee each other against a specific loss. So it's a scheme based on brotherhood, solidarity, and mutual assistance. So in the first place, when we started this takaful thing, what was the main goal? The main goal is to help my brothers, including myself. It's like a group of people sharing something, facing some risk. They're worried about the same risk. So we can see that takaful basically like focuses, or it sheds some light on brotherhood concepts, and it's important in a healthy community from the Islamic perspective. We've seen that and discussed it also in musharaka and mudaraba, and the importance of these contracts, how it brings people together. Sometimes when they partner up, they do business together. So similarly, Takaful, different reason for partnering up, but again, here it's to protect the group, including yourself, against something. So it's a scheme based on brotherhood, solidarity, and mutual assistance, which provides for mutual financial aid. So what is this brotherhood about? It's to provide. So we will all provide in terms of financial aid. We will provide some financial aid to the one facing the unfortunate loss due to the risk specified in the contract, and assistance to participants in case of need, which means, remember, the claim. So in case of need, meaning you had an accident, you have an evidence, etc., whereby the participants mutually agree to contribute for that purpose. So if we focus the first few things in Takaful, we must discuss these things. What is Takaful about? The essential existence of the contract is basically to what? To help one another, to protect each other against something. So it's brotherhood, regardless of the details. We will get into the details as we proceed. But first thing you need to know about Takaful is basically what I'm talking about right now. So let's move to the most important concept in Takaful, which is tabarru. So the concept of tabarru. What is tabarru? We all already know from different courses we've studied in our program. Tabarru is basically a donation contract. So tabarru means donation. And what do we know about this contract? We call it's a unilateral contract. It's not a bilateral contract. Bilateral means you and me must do something. For example, I buy your phone. I pass you money. You pass me the phone. So we both had obligations. We call it bilateral contract, whereby we have some contracts, we call it unilateral contract. By its nature, we only need one party to do something. I want to gift you this. So I want to provide this to you on the basis of donation. So we call it unilateral. You either say yes or no. You don't need to do anything. Okay? So it's a mutual act of good deeds and righteousness amongst participants of a takaful contract. So we will provide some portion of this contribution on the basis of donation. We will see later why we're doing that, but basically we started the whole thing by discussing brotherhood. So there is no harm in donating to your brothers, which will also be basically donating to you in the same pool. So what's the main goal? We're not gambling, we're not playing around. We have some main reason we are doing the whole business for, which is mutual protection. We want to be protected. The bigger the pool is, we are stronger. So let's continue with tabarru. So tabarru in takaful contract. So what's the problem? We will discuss that in details later, but what's the problem with conventional insurance? The main problem is gharar, uncertainty. I pay you the money, there is no contractual, you are not providing anything except if I suffer a loss. So you basically wait for me to suffer, then you pay me. It's somehow gambling for a good reason, I would say. The reason is really good to protect yourself, your family, your property, but the way it's conducted, it's basically very vague. It's not clear. So what if the company had extra money? The money should go back to us or shall remain with the company? Okay, so as we proceed in this course, you will notice the differences are very clear between Takaful and conventional insurance. So the concept of tabarru is the pillar under the takaful system which renders the uncertainty in a takaful contract irrelevant. We discussed that before. Let's revisit it quickly. I want to give you this as a gift, right? So do usually recipients of gifts give conditions, why is it black? You wouldn't really tell me why is it black, why there is no battery, why you didn't clean it from here. It's as it is, right? You want to take it or leave it. So gharar is eliminated here. So donation is a unilateral contract. So there is no gharar in the gift. When I come to your birthday and I provide a gift, you don't really ask me for different gift, or why did you buy this. You don't investigate how much it is, etc. So since it's a gift, gharar can exist because you didn't really pay anything in exchange. It was a gift. You just had to accept the gift. That's all you had to do. So TO is a trustee. So the takaful operator is the entity entrusted with the operations. So we are brothers here, but we don't have experience in the takaful business. It's okay. We hire someone to do the job on our behalf. We're gonna call this party TO, takaful operator. So they will manage the fund. Fund must be financially strong to meet all obligations effectively. So to keep it strong, we need to invest the money, and to invest the money efficiently and try to get very high profits on it to make the pool stronger and stronger. You actually need someone who has expertise in the field. So the primary objective, however, is not to invest the money, it's to provide financial assistance to any unfortunate participant suffering a loss. So that's the main goal of the whole pool. However, to do that properly, we must ensure that the pool is getting stronger and stronger. How does it get stronger? More money to pay these people suffering a loss. So how do we do that? We need to invest the money. And how do we invest it? Must be Sharia compliant, etc. We have many requirements. Who's gonna do the job? The brothers in the pool may not have the experience or the time to do it, so we get some expert we're gonna call TO since now on. So Sharia compliant, of course, is one important aspect in any Islamic basically product we're gonna discuss. Tabarru is actually a commitment to donate. Iltizam bit-tabarru, with a condition of compensation. So Ayufi focused on this tabarru concept here in Takaful. So there was some issue. Usually when you provide something as a donation in general, you don't really ask the recipient to share anything with you. Like, for example, you don't provide me with a watch as a gift and then you tell me every Friday I want to borrow it or take it from you. It's my right. Usually we don't do that. So scholars had some issues here, about takaful, because we are providing the contribution on the basis of tabarru to other brothers. However, we might use it. Okay, so you would notice here that Ayufi focused on that and added the sentence with a condition of compensation. So it's a donation as long as I am fine. However, if I face the same risk you guys are facing, I must also receive some money, which can be basically, if you think about it, from the money of others donating, right? So you're donating to others, you're not using the money. However, others are donating, you're also using their money in case of some unfortunate event. However, since the pool combines the funds together, we must add this sentence with a condition of compensation. So, now let's move to conventional insurance. We were just discussing conventional insurance. So what's the modus operandi? It's exchange. Basically, that the insurance company will provide you with the protection in case you got something, you faced the same risk, and you will pay them money in exchange. So it's like buy and sell agreement. That's it. That's the whole relationship. So what's the gharar here? Total amount payable under the policy are not known. So usually there is a price. We know what's the service you're providing or the product must be specified, and you must specify how much you want to receive. However, here you specify how much you want to receive, but you don't tell me what actually you're gonna provide me with. To overcome this issue in Takaful, we used tabarru, and it's a whole total story since the participants own the fund themselves. TO doesn't own anything, no buy and sell. So total amount payable under the policy are not known until actual occurrence of the covered event. Total amount of premium payable depends on when the peril occurs. So we don't know when exactly, and we don't know how much you're gonna pay me. It's like gambling, again, for a very good reason. And that's why, some really big scholars in Islam, they, before Takaful, permitted people to buy insurance because they said, yes, it is gambling, but it's very important for the people, especially those doing business, transportation, etc. Sorry, I didn't move the slide. So, some types of takaful are called ta'awuni, mutual. It's very popular in Saudi Arabia. So, very similar. It's basically based on aun, help, aid, assist, aun, ta'awun, cooperation. It's just same word, different forms of the word. Ta'awuni, cooperative. So, the policyholders, participants are at the same time owners of the company. Okay, so the participants provide the money becomes the company basically, and you own it. Okay, now let's move to tenets of takaful. So the concept of pooling, sharing risk or losses is the heart of takaful. We discussed that in Islamic banking as well, like musharaka and mudaraba are the essence of Islamic banking. If you don't apply it, you don't really expect to have very good results. Similarly here, sharing risk is one essential aspect of takaful. However, we're gonna share the risk different from mudaraba and musharaka. Here, we're gonna share the risk in terms of if it occurs, we want to protect one another. It's like the aftermath of the risk or the destruction or whatever happens. So if something bad happens, we will deal with it after. So it's also musharaka. So you would notice that mutual responsibility, we are mutually responsible, or joint guarantee, or mutual help. So we all pitch in and help someone who suffered a loss in the pool, and mutual contribution and donation. So it's not really one aspect per se, but it's somehow a combination of all of these three principles together. So what's the relationship? Let's see the relationship between these parties in a takaful contract. So we said we have participants. So me and you in the class are participants. We created this company by contributing premium or whatever you want to call it, contributions. What's the relationship between me and you? We are partners, right? So this is somehow some form of shirkatul milk. We own this together. So we are partners. Now, what's the relationship between us and the TO? We hired the TO. If you say we hired the TO, it means you pay him some fees, right? So it's like agency contract. He's your wakil, and you basically are the principal. You assigned him to do the job in exchange for a percentage of the premium, or can be a fixed amount of money. We go back to wakala contract. It's just a wakala contract. However, in some scenarios, we see the relationship is different. It's a mudaraba. How do we do the mudaraba thing? In mudaraba, basically, what is mudaraba? Two parties agree to enter into a partnership. This partnership, there are different roles of the partners. One provide capital, one provide entrepreneurship and expertise and invest the money. So here the TO is the mudarib, of course. Or it can be a combo of both. Sometimes both wakala and mudaraba can be seen in one company. Okay, so the Takaful contract, the relationship between participants and Takaful fund, we just discussed that. We, as participants, are partners. We have a commitment to donate, to contribute our money, to basically create the pool to protect each other. And there is a commitment to indemnify, providing compensation for loss. Those who basically suffer a loss. So again, it's musharaka. If anyone suffers a loss, that's different from musharaka in business, right? And we will help them through compensating them to basically go back to their previous state before the loss happened. So, takaful or a contract. Let's focus on the general contract. A contract, aqd, can be defined as connection between, we call it in Arabic, ijab and qabul. Ijab, I ask you, do you want to buy this from me? You say yes, or you would just nod to me. Whatever is accepted, sometimes we write it down, it's up to us. However, once I ask you and you agree, it's considered by ijab and qabul, offer and acceptance. The Majella, the Ottoman law, discussed contract as follows. The two parties taken upon themselves an undertaking to do something. Okay, so both parties agreed to do something. It is composed of the combination of an offer and acceptance. So what are the main pillars of a contract? To have a contract properly designed in Islam, we have three components. Expression, ijab and qabul, is the most important. You cannot force someone to do it, right? I ask you with no threat, you reply yes or no. So we also have contracting parties. Can I do the same thing with my 2 year son? Sign him a contract? Of course not. Can I do it with an insane person? Of course not. So we will discuss that. Finally, the subject matter. The subject matter also, what are you buying and selling? Pork, food? What kind of contract? What's the subject matter? What's the underlying asset? What is the essence of this contract? Why are you doing the whole thing? So that also must be permissible in Islam. So when we have these three aspects in a contract satisfy the requirement in Islam, we have a valid contract. So let's begin with the expression. We call it sigha. Do you want to buy? Yes, I want to buy. Do you want to buy? Someone would just say nod. That's also yes. Do you want to buy? Some people want to write down. You can sign the contract. So sigha is a method to manifest intention. It consists of utterance to offer and accept qabul, the intentions of the contracting parties. It can be verbal, as we said, to manifest mutual consent of the contracting parties, that is customarily regarded as indicative consent. In Maliki and Hanbali, they say the contract is 100%. Okay. Written contract accepted as manifestation of consent. Shafi'i says you must write it down. They insist on writing things down. Hanbali, however, says writing, conduct, and even gestures, just, smiling, even gestures said is also acceptable. Contracting parties, we discussed contracting parties. They are the entities who enter into a binding agreement, those who make offer and acceptance. So they must establish their rights and obligations upon themselves. The Takaful scheme involves two main parties, TO and the participants. So the TO, of course, cannot be insane or cannot be someone underage. Similarly, participants can be sometimes. We will discuss that later. There are conditions. For example, if you're 2 years old, you bring your guardian. For example, my son has takaful since he was born, but I am the one who pays and I'm called the guardian. So even my name would be on the certificate of takaful. Then TO, an operator, of course, with experience to do the business. Some of them can have background in insurance, for example. In consideration of contributions paid by the participant to indemnify or provide financial security, they know how to check whether it's fake, whether it's original evidence, police report. They know how to do the business properly, how to market for it, what channels are best for marketing and selling the products they have against unexpected peril which may happen on the subject matter of the policy. Now, participants, the one who subsequently becomes the insured party against a defined risk, pays a regular contribution. So that's the obligation you have to be in the pool. Persons who are incapable of being a party to a transaction are also basically incapable of being the participants in a policy, relying on the general principles of a contract. So in general, it's the same thing in other contracts. The factors of impediment to a policy are age, medical unfitness, bankruptcy, captive, unauthorized person, and sound mind. Let's take a look at these factors quickly. So first, age. Of course, once a minor, regardless of sex, has reached the age of 15, he or she should be regarded as a person with the age of majority and shall have the right to hold a policy as a participant. So you can buy it without the help of your guardian, your father, your mother. And also shall have the right to assign and to be assigned a policy without any restriction. A minor of any age below 15 may also have the right to hold the policy, as the case with my son, as a participant, provided that the policy is advantageous. So there is a condition here. You cannot, do something wrong in the government or steal money and put your son's name. You cannot do it like this. You cannot steal and write the contract under your son's name or cheat, etc. However, there is a condition. If this contract is seen as advantageous to the kid, by the court or the judge, then the contract is valid. So there is a very important condition. It must be advantageous to the minor. The minor has full understanding of the policy, and the policy is ratified and supervised by the respective guardian, myself in my son's case. Medical unfitness. So, can any person join in the Takaful pool? Of course not. Let's say it's to protect people against some disease, and you already have cancer. You want to join the pool. Of course, it's not fair for us. You come with some critical illness already. You're gonna use up all of the money in the pool, and you didn't join before you had cancer. You only joined after you realized you had cancer. So basically, for many reasons, it's not, at the end of the day, this is not considered as donation for the public. It's donation for those in the pool only, not to anyone. So there are persons who are suffering from serious illness or are of unsound mind, HIV positive, serious cancer, etc. Such person may be regarded as unfit to participate in a policy, of course. Now let's move to bankruptcy. What if someone is bankrupt? A person whose debt exceeds the value of his own property is declared as muflis, which means bankrupt. Immediately, once his creditor demands the right of credit from him. So a bankrupt person is basically not allowed to be a participant because he brings so much burden to the pool and he is not welcomed. Captive. What if someone is being held as a captive? The Takaful contract is a contract of mutual cooperation against unexpected risk. If a person happens to be a prisoner or a hostage, he has already lost his freedom of the management of his financial affairs, and he is subject to some particular authority. So once you're held captive, you don't have actually the freedom to choose. Thus, how can he or she who lost the freedom become a contributor in a mutual transaction? Unauthorized person. The person that has a legal ownership and interest over the life or property eligible to be a participant. Again, what is an unauthorized person? So he's the person who has neither ownership nor interest over something, and he comes, he find it and sell it for others, okay, without my consent. So we call this unauthorized person. Sometimes they do the transaction already, right? So in Islam, you see many cases in which you can take it back. Some cases are extreme. You have to find a solution, a remedy. So in this case, the person who has neither ownership nor interest shall not qualify as a participant, because this may give him opportunity to gain over property of others. So let's move now to the subject matter. So the last aspect we're going to discuss is subject matter. The subject matter must be legal and permissible. We already know that. Must be Sharia compliant. So the subject matter should be deemed valuable. Now we go back to our first class, Maqasid Sharia, and try to remember what we discussed. Is takaful as a business or as an idea is considered okay or encouraged by Sharia? It is actually encouraged. We've seen that before. So the subject matter should be deemed valuable, has commercial value to both contracting parties. You win, I win. Participants, we are protected, our life is better. TO got business already, gaining money, maybe gaining more experience. So it's good for both. The subject matter must be legally owned by the contracting parties. If it's not owned yet, such as fish in water, we discussed all of that, bird in the sky, high uncertainty, high level of ambiguity, so the contract cannot be concluded. So subject matter must be known. Here, of course, it is known to everyone. So I'm sure you're familiar with all Islamic contracts, but now let's revise quickly. What are the whole important contracts we discussed in Takaful? Kafala, we discussed it at the beginning of this class. Tabarru, we discussed it next. We discussed donation, how important it is to render the contract valid. Without it, uncertainty is very high, similar to insurance, so we cannot practice. However, we change it with tabarru concept. I don't want this money back. It's just for donation for my friends. So gharar is yasir, is not really big anymore. Wakala, when we hire the TO to do the work, basically, we use sometimes wakala. They become our wakil. Ju'ala, when you pay someone a fee for doing something, we call it ju'ala. Mudaraba, it's basically when the Takaful operator will be investing the money on our behalf. We don't have the experience. We are a silent partner here. We don't want to manage the money. They will be our mudarib, we will be Rabbul Mal. Musharaka between participants themselves. We discussed how now we all participants, we all own this pool basically together. We discussed that is a kind of shirka in basically ownership. Okay. So with this, we end this part here. In the part number 2, second part, we will discuss the main principles of Takaful contract. Okay, see you later.